Welcome back everyone. So today I'm going to be focusing on growth-based investment, and specifically I'm going to be looking at a stock indicator known as the MACD. This is one of the many methods out there when performing technical analysis. So for those that are interested in growth-based investment, stick around. Now before I jump into the video, as always I have the random number generator. This is the number of likes we ideally receive on this video. So the goal this week is set to 26, so 26 thumbs up. If you do that now, it's really appreciated. So just a little bit of background information on my style of investment. So as of recent, I've been looking into growth-based companies, and I feel as though it requires a different mentality when entering and exiting positions. In contrast to that of my dividend portfolio, I just stick to fundamental analysis when picking the stocks, and I hold the opinion that we shouldn't neglect technical analysis. It makes more sense that we should learn both types of methods because that can only help us when buying and selling shares. So the MACD is an acronym, and that stands for Moving Average Convergence Divergence, and in its simplest form it's just an indicator or a tool which helps us when deciding to buy or sell a given share. Now the MACD indicator is one of many different types of oscillators out there. So first up, let's just plot our x-axis. So this is just a straight line horizontally, and the first key piece of information is this blue plotted line here. So this is referred to as the MACD 1226. It's worked out by subtracting the 26th day exponential moving average from the price from the 12-day exponential moving average from the price. And then after that we have what's referred to as the signal line. This uses the 9th day exponential moving average, subtracts that from the price, and it's always lagging in the sense that the signal is plotted after that of the blue line, and it has the effect of smoothing out and generating signals for us. So in this case here we have this first crossover point. We can see that the blue line has crossed our signal line, and so this indicates that there is a sell signal, and then equally here the blue line now crosses and goes above that of the signal line. This indicates a buying opportunity, and effectively that process is repeated, so we'll have a number of sell and buy signals. And so there's one more point to talk about with respect to the MACD. I'm going to use a live example now. And so switching over to Trading 212, I'm just going to bring up Tesla on the screen, and I'm going to click on the advanced chart option. And so if I just zoom in, we can see we have these two lines. Now we can change these colors to whatever we wish. This red line is same as the pink line that I had in the example. It's just that there's a limited number of colors, so I've gone with red with the signal line. And then for the main MACD indicator, that is a blue line, and at the top here we can see that we have the MACD 1226 line. Now it is actually possible to customize these numbers, but by default it will generate the 1226 line, which is the blue line, and then the 9, which is the red line. So let's take a look at some of the stronger signals, and for instance on the 16th of November we can see that the blue line was below the signal line, it then met the signal line and it went above, and not only did it cross, but the blue line was in an upward trajectory, and so all in all this is a very strong buying opportunity. Now if you don't want to look at the graphs, you can just look at the histogram. So we can see here prior to the 16th of November we had these red lines, and so these are all negative with respect to the x-axis, and then suddenly we get this switch from red to green, and the magnitude of the histograms tells us how strong of a signal. So on the 16th of November we had the crossover period. If we wasn't comfortable in purchasing, we could have waited until the 17th, and we can see that we have this green histogram color, and then again if we waited until the 18th we then have a really high histogram number there. Now of course if you wait extra days to see whether this is a strong signal or not, you could wait too long and then you miss your buying opportunity. If I look at the actual price here, it went from 354, and then studying the MACD here we then get a crossover, so the blue line crosses our signal line, indicating that there's an opportunity to sell. So if we track that on the price, that price point was around $500, and so there was a big opportunity to profit during this trade. And for those that like to buy and sell quickly, the MACD indicator gives us some visibility into when we should do the buying and when we should do the selling. And so on the 14th of December we had this sell signal because the blue line has gone below that of our signal line, but because the histogram are not as large as they were during the buy phase, we can say that this wasn't a strong signal to sell out. And we can see that to be the case as well, because should we have sold out on the 14th of December, then we received a very strong buy signal on the 29th of December. Now, of course, if you're not into buying and selling quickly, and myself, I'm not interested in that process, then I would say that even for long-term investors out there that want to hold on to these growth-based stocks, it's still a great way to decide when you want to buy or when you want to sell. If you do stick to just fundamental analysis, then of course you can work out when a stock is being under or oversold. But if you want to get a better price, then this type of analysis can help. Now, in saying that, as we saw, some of these signals, such as the sell signal on the 14th of December, this wasn't a great sell signal. So for instance, on the 30th of September, we have this crossover, but there's nothing too strong to tell us exactly what we should do at this point. Equally, on the 12th of October, there's no momentum in the stock price, and if we actually look at the underlying stock value, we can see how it's bouncing, but the opportunity to make a profit is so low, and we are just oscillating in a small region. Now, the other thing to call out is that with any type of indicator out there, these are just ways of providing us with a certain form of insight, and it's just using past historical information to generate these graphs. And so if I try a different ticker symbol, let's try a GME. Now, there's other things happening behind the scenes. I've spoken about this in other videos in terms of the short squeeze, but if we try to apply the same level of technical analysis, if we look from, let's say, the 30th of June 2020 all the way up to the 13th of January, our indicator is not providing us with much information whatsoever. The price point during this period was so low that the signals were low as a result. And so for instance, if you were to use this information to buy and sell, then we could see that we have this somewhat of a buy signal on January the 11th, and at that point the price was around the $18 mark. And then we would have held our position all the way until the 2nd of February. And so the price point on the 2nd of February was around 65. So for sure you would have made a profit if you looked into the MACD and decided to buy and sell based on those crossovers. But you actually would have missed a large amount of those gains. Because remember, these are just averages which help to smooth over past data to generate the signal line. But you run the risk of exiting a position when technically you should have exited earlier. And while a 3-time gain in our example here is still good, you would have missed out on some of the higher opportunities. And that's why there's a whole load of different oscillators and other indicators out there to help model other stocks that perhaps behave differently. And GameStop is one of those edge cases which behave very differently just based on the situation in the past with reference to the short squeeze. So with any type of oscillator, they are just indicators out there to help you with buying and selling. You can still look at the actual price point and understand whether the price is an undervalue or an overvalue of the company and then decide to purchase there. But if you have more tools at your disposal, then you can make more informed decisions, and it's especially important when looking into growth-based companies, as I said, because we care more about what the price is when we buy, and our end goal with growth-based investment is to sell out of our positions, and ideally we want to make the maximum gain out there. And so for those that do focus on growth-based companies and want to hold for the long term, you could find some of these tools useful if you want to just buy a certain position and care less about if there's any sell signals. And that's because you're holding onto the stock as long as possible. You're not too worried when you're going to sell. You may sell a year or 10 years from now, and at that point you're looking at different market conditions. So I hope this was useful for those that focus on growth-based investment. It can still be useful for those that even look at dividend-based companies out there. For me personally, when it comes to the dividend companies, I focus less on when I'm entering, just because I want to keep buying into the companies. But if you have a large amount of money and you want to try and get as best price as possible, these types of indicators are definitely worth using. So in the comments below, let me know if this was helpful. I'm happy to look into other common indicators in the future. Equally, if you're aware of some of these indicators and you want me to explain them, drop a message below and potentially I'll talk about it in a future video. So for those new to my channel, these days I'm talking about broad topics when it comes to investing. If you want to follow along, then definitely subscribe. There's a new video out every week, so thanks for watching everyone, and with that said, I'll catch you in the next one.